Even post-fire of losing every single thing I own, I get rid of one bag of stuff a week.
Do you really? What is in that bag?
Yes.
Is it clothes? Is it
literally anything. I think most people in a marriage are two different organizational types. My husband and I are completely different.
I'll give you an example. My husband is really good, but I'm the opposite. I like to procrastinate and wait.
You don't have to wait until you have a whole weekend to do all of it. If you don't like something and you pull something off the hanger and you're like, oh, I don't want to wear this. Well, guess what? If you don't want to wear it today, you probably don't want to wear it next week. Chuck it.
Then you implement the systems to kind of keep everything organized.
The decisions you're making at hour 8 are not as good as the ones you were making in the first hour because you're tired and you want it to be over with, which is when people are like, throw it all away. And you don't want to have the regret of throwing it all away.
Trying to help our parents downsize, and they have collected things and they don't want to throw things away.
Enjoy some of the memories, like look through some of your old stuff and have a good time with it. If everything's special, nothing's special. So you do have to make those special pieces and keep them and then let the rest go.
Today's guest understands something most people miss. Clutter isn't really about mess. It's about decisions, energy, and overwhelm. Meaghan Kessman is a home organization expert and the founder of Meaghan Kessman Home. She helps people create systems that actually support how they live, not how they wish they lived. Her work is especially powerful for women in midlife, when life feels fuller, faster, and more layered, and the desire for calm at home isn't about aesthetics, it's about sanity. In this conversation, we talk about why clutter builds up, why organization feels emotionally loaded, and how creating simple systems can genuinely change how you feel day to day. Before we jump in, if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, take a moment to follow the show, rate it, and leave a quick review. It makes a real difference and helps more women find the iconic midlife. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Like this episode and drop a comment. I read them and they really help the channel grow. Let's get into it. Welcome to the iconic midlife, Meaghan. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me, Roxy. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a minute since I've seen you, so I'm excited that we're chatting today.
Me too.
So good. How's life been in the last, year? I know it's been a little crazy for you after the Palisades, right?
Yes, we lost our house in the fire. So it's been a crazy year, but we're getting through it and we're about to start rebuilding. And so everything's going really well, all things considered.
Okay, good. I'm glad you guys are opening a new chapter now, hopefully for the better.
Yes.
I did a deep dive into your Instagram, Meaghan Kessman Home, which I'm obsessed with because I love, even though I am traditionally not a super organized person, I love to look at people who are their social media. It brings me joy because I get so anxious when I am not organized, which is literally always the case. So yeah, I was looking at some of the spaces and everything and how clean and fresh and amazing, the places are that you've been putting up. So congratulations on that. But it's interesting because you also had this other side, you were in the corporate world for a long time, and did this pivot and change. So let's talk about that a little bit because you did that in midlife, which is amazing. So what kind of led to the changing? Let's give people a little background too as to what you were doing before, because that was a whole other amazing part of your life,
Yes, it was a whole different life, I feel like. I was in digital media for 20 years prior to this. I worked the majority of my career at Pandora, the streaming music site, and was one of their early employees, watched them grow, was with them for almost 13 years. And as the kids got older, I had my kids there. And as they got older, I just noticed that I needed to be around more than I needed to be when they were babies. And so I started to feel like I need to have a job that's a little bit more flexible and that I can be around for them and pick them up from school and do a lot of different things. But at the same time, we ended up moving to London for 3 years for my husband's job. So I didn't work in London at all, which was a fun little 3 year vacation for me. But I when we got back, I knew I wanted to work. Like I missed working. I tried to get more into like traditional companies again. I started to put feelers out, and as it turns out, being out of the workforce for 4 to 5 years, it's hard to get back in. And so things were going fine, but I was like, is this what I really want? And so what I decided to do was really sit and think, what do I really love to do? And I've always loved to organize. It was even in, digital media, I was using organization to really further my career. And so I thought, you know what? What if I tried to organize for other people? I organize for myself. I have since I was a child. And people had asked me over the years if I would ever organize for them. And I was always like, no, no, no. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try taking on a few trial clients. So I called a few friends and said, can I come organize for you for free? I'll do a space and see how you like it. And let me see how I feel. And then we'll go from there. And so I did a few spaces. I actually really loved it. And then just decided to jump. And so I jumped and sent an email to all my contacts saying, this is what I'm doing. I'm available. This is my rate. Here's what, I'm up to. Here's a sample of what I've done in the past. And let's see how this goes. And people started reaching out and word of mouth. And now it's grown into its own business, which has been really fun. And I'm using what comes naturally to me, which is so exciting.
Yeah, and now because you've been on both sides of it as like an entrepreneur, but also working for somebody previously. I mean, do you feel like do you love this part of it so much more now being your own sort of boss and business person? Like, are you really loving it?
I do really love it. I loved my coworkers at Pandora. I'm still so close to so many of them. So I miss going into the office and seeing everyone, but I still keep in touch. But I really like being able to design my own schedule. Like I plot in clients how when I can take them. I was at my daughter's school this morning. I do this. I've got a client this afternoon. So I can plug and play in a way that I could never when I had a boss. And I thought when I was first building this that I really wanted to have a team around me. And what I've discovered over it's been 2.5 years since I started this, is that I really just like working by myself. And so I don't bring in assistants to my jobs. I work one on one with clients. I just focus on them and they work with me really closely on editing what they have. And I found that organizing someone's space is so intimate, right? You're in people's stuff. It's very, people want a private experience. And so what I found that if it's just one-on-one with me and the client, going through their stuff and making decisions on what they're keeping and what they're giving away, it's been it's great. And that also leaves me the ability to be very flexible with my time because I'm not trying to coordinate assistants or other people that I'm working with. It's just me. And so I didn't think that's what I was going to want originally. And so that's what I've decided as I've moved along with this business, that I really actually like working just on my own.
So, that's an interesting point you brought up about going into people's intimate spaces, because you often encounter, like I'm sure many different things, but clutter being one of them, right? So, when you're going into a client space and you're seeing clutter, what do you think that is? Not just, the items that are, around, but what do you think that that is actually about? Like, why are people holding on to things?
I think I read somewhere that clutter is unmade decisions. And I think that that is what it is. People have so many decisions to make every single day. And I feel like there's just a pileup of decisions that need to be made, and people put it off because they're tired of making decisions. There's so much coming at us at all times. And I think, people are purchasing things because they think it's going to help them down the road, but all of the excess that's coming in just leaves them so overwhelmed. And then it becomes so overwhelming that people feel a lot of shame with their clutter, which makes me sad. Every time I go into a client's house, they're like, I'm so embarrassed. And I'm like, don't be embarrassed. Like, this is normal. People have clutter. But I do think that it's just everything's so easy to buy these days. Amazon, you can get in 2 seconds. And people just accumulate. And I think with the promise that their life's going to be easier or this is going to make them feel better, but it actually ends up doing the opposite. And I feel like doesn't matter if you have all the resources in the world or you have very little, the stuff is overwhelming and it's universal and it ends up owning you in a way that is not productive.
Yes. And I love that you brought up the point about decision overload because I think that that is so true, especially as women in midlife, because a lot of us are business owners or work or have kids or have a partner or, we're just making decisions all the time. And it's one of those things where you're just like, I cannot even think like anymore to say yes, no, make a decision on this next thing, and it's easier to sometimes just shove it in the closet and not think about it, and I'm sure the closet is probably one of the main areas that just
Uh-huh.
gets
People
all the shit, right? Goes in the closet,
It's true.
right?
It's true. And midlife is the time. It's like my kid, I've got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they have so much stuff, sports stuff, school stuff. Like we just have so many things going on. All of us do. And so that's the time to start paring things back so that you have less decisions.
Mhm. I don't know about you, but like sometimes I feel like, especially as I've gotten older, I feel like I either like don't want to think about it, like shove it in the closet, or I go into this like insane cleaning frenzy where I'm like, throw fucking everything out. I'm like, throw it all out, and I'm just like, like we're so
Yes.
fried. We're so
Yes.
fried that we just get to a point,
Mhm.
right? Where it's like, how, like, I can't even look at it anymore, you know?
I know. I know. So what I tell my clients is, and I think this is one of a very helpful thing. Keep a basket in your closet. Keep one in the hall closet, donation baskets. When you put something on that you don't like, don't wait to give it away. If you've worn an outfit all day, you don't love it, you don't feel great in it, throw it in the basket. No questions asked. Then I decide either my housekeeper, I leave the basket if she wants to take anything she wants to take, if I want to sell anything to the real, if I want to take it to my local thrift shop, but it makes it easier just to put it right in the basket. Like, don't even think twice.
Oh my God, that's such a good point because what I'll do is I'll take it off, hang it back up in the closet, and it
Mhm.
just sits there
Mhm.
until the next time I come across it, and it's like, it just accumulates and things in the closet, like, I'm sure a lot of other women feel this way too. It's like you go through your closet, you don't even remember half the stuff that's in there. It's like some things still have price tags on them, like never been worn, or shoved in the back. So is the closet a good place, like a first starting point to when you want to like lighten the load and get rid of clutter? Is that like an ideal room to start in?
Yes, I think the closet and the kitchen. The garage is usually so overwhelming. Say leave that for a bit until you sort of get the hang of it. But I think also it's like you really don't. I think what people get mistaken is that you don't have to wait until you have a whole weekend to do all of it. Like really just do your blouses. And if you don't like something and you pull something off the hanger and you're like, "Ugh, I don't want to wear this." Well, guess what? If you don't want to wear it today, you probably don't want to wear it next week. Chuck it. Someone else will love it. And so I think it's about taking those little mini parts of your day just to use 15 minutes to look through those bosses and then stop. so that you don't get so overwhelmed by doing more. And then you'll look forward to it because you have 15 minutes, you have 15 minutes. Set a timer. 15 minutes, I'm going to just declutter this one specific area and then I'm going to stop for the day. Because I think people get overwhelmed and then they quit and then it gets worse. Because then you're like halfway through a clean out. Nothing's worse than like halfway through a clean out and then quitting because then your space is completely disheveled and you're not cleaned out. So it's sort of, but I think the closet, because that's where we get dressed and that's how we feel about ourselves when we're getting ready and how we feel during the day and what we're wearing. And so I think that that's a really good place to start because if you have a calm closet, you can start your day in a little bit more of a calm environment.
I happen to be like looking up and seeing my wall right now. We hang my
Mhm.
daughter's artwork up, you know?
Uh-huh.
And that
Uh-huh.
is another place where I cannot, I like, there's an emotional attachment to that stuff. Like, I
Yes.
feel like I
Yes.
cannot throw out a single piece of her artwork because she made it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, like,
Mhm.
what would you say for something that has such a high emotional attachment like that to
Mhm.
kind of learn how
Mhm.
to, prioritize and kind of thin out a bit?
I think there's a couple of ways you can do it. So there is a company called Archive, and you send all of the projects to them. They take digital photographs and put it in a beautiful book. So you can have a book of all of your child's art, and then you don't have all these papers flying around. But what you can also do is what I do is I take a bin, and for that school year, they add their stuff to it. So if they have an art project or they have anything that they want to save, it goes in there. And then at the end of the school year, we go through it and we keep the pieces that really mean something. And I think once you have a little bit of space between not just deciding right when it comes home because right at that moment it's new, it's something they're so proud of. But by the end of the year, it's like, okay, let's pick 10 to 15 pieces out of here to save in your keepsake box. And then we'll start over next year. And so it gives them a place to put their projects, but then it also gives you a spot at the end of the year to say, we're going to cull this down. Let's pick out our favorite pieces and then we'll put it in your special box. And then we'll be ready for the next school year. Your bin's empty again and we'll start over. And I think it gives them agency in the process and it makes them feel special. And it also eliminates, there's a lot of things that have one crayon mark on that you can be like, all right, I can get rid of this.
Totally, like the
So,
restaurant
yeah.
menus, the kids' menus that they draw
Exactly,
that you
exactly.
bring
Yes,
home and you're like, "Oh,
yes.
I cannot hold
And
on to
it's mhm. But it's like I was just saying to someone, like, if everything's special, nothing's special. So you do have to, like, make those special pieces and keep them and then let the rest go.
So how do we reframe that in our minds to not have that guilt, to not have that crazy emotional attachment when it's like something that isn't that significant?
I think I think we tend to overthink. I see that a lot. People sort of like get in their heads about stuff, and I'm like, okay, it has a crayon mark. You're never going to look at this again. Just toss it and move on. So I do think that we have to get out of our heads a little bit on that stuff and say, like, okay, this is a beautiful project. I'm going to keep this. This means a lot to me. I also feel like sometimes I've had next to the donation bin, I've had a maybe bin. And then sometimes I put stuff in there, it's like a purgatory for stuff, but I feel like sometimes you, like, don't wanna make that decision right then, but it probably should go. Put it in the purgatory box when you revisit it every time. I will say a couple of times I've pulled things back out of purgatory, but for the most part, 99% of it goes. But it might give you, if you feel like you hang on to a lot, to put it in a bin that is likely gonna find its way to the trash can at some point or a donation. It gives you a little bit of a space between the emotion of it and the reality of whether you wanna keep it or not.
Oh, that's a good tactic. Yeah, to kind of keep it in that middle place until you fully decide.
Yeah, if you're someone that really hangs on to something, I'm like, get rid of it on for the most part because of just how I am. But I think if you're not, put it in a maybe pile, Give yourself some time to think about it and then make the decision. But it also gets it out of your space. You wanna get it out of your space because especially with clothes, like, if you're seeing a bunch of stuff you don't like or you're unsure of, then it's really still hard to get dressed. It doesn't give you more options, it makes you more paralyzed by the number of options that you have, and then you end up wearing the same thing over and over again.
Let me ask you this, the things that land in the donation bin, are you allowed to rethink them and take them back out again, or once they hit the bin, that's it?
No, you can always rethink. I don't think it's, like, so black or white. I honestly pulled 2 things out the other day. I was like, "You know what? I actually think I could use these." So, I do think that it does give a space for it to sit for a second, so you're not that's also the good thing about cleaning out little by little instead of doing this massive thing and you've got trash bags and you're going nuts, and that's when things can kind of leave in a moment of sheer, like, I want it all out of the house, and all of a sudden you're like, "Wait, what did I do with?" So if you do it in smaller chunks and you put it in bins, donation, maybe repair is a good bin to have too, so that it's like a pair of pants doesn't fit or you need something hemmed or whatever it may be, but it's got a spot. It then allows you just more space and breathing room in your closet or wherever you are.
Yeah, I'm in the process right now of cleaning out my closet. And I have found, like you're saying, to do chunk by chunk, like section by section. Like the other, like over the weekend, I did shoes. And then before that, I did like handbags. And then, so because if I don't, and I feel like, oh my God, I have to do this all in one weekend and like get the whole closet done, I get like so overwhelmed. You know what I mean? And you're just like, oh my God, there's so much to do. But I totally, yeah, that I think that is one of the most helpful things because then if you get like little by little, if you put like the closet, let's say, like get that to a good working order, then you can start on the other rooms, and then, right, it becomes like momentum almost.
It does. It does. And it feels rewarding. It doesn't feel what you don't want to do is fatigue yourself. So that's why if you keep it in the smaller chunks, you'll continue to do it. But also, if you do an all day edit session, the decisions you're making at hour 8 are not as good as the ones you were making in the first hour because you're tired and you want it to be over with, which is when people are like, throw it all away. And you don't want to have the regret of throwing it all away. So don't get yourself into that point of the process. Cut it off before you get to the tired portion.
How do you not tire? But I guess if you're working on other people's spaces, it's probably different, right?
It's yeah, it's definitely tiring, especially if a day goes 8 to 10 hours. I'm exhausted. So I do not work every day of the week on site. I do, but there's a lot of planning that goes into it with putting together proposals and all the product recommendations and measuring. And I do all of that beforehand. So then when I come in to be on site, I've got all of the products with me and they all fit properly because I've done the measurements and all of that. So that actually saves my body in between the on-site days to be working on product recs and doing different, admin tasks because when I am on site, I'm there 8 hours, of running around and cleaning things out. You do need a break after that. So I am tired at the end of the day, but a good bath and then I'm back on my feet.
Yes, maybe a glass of wine, you
Glass of wine and
know.
and a bath and, like, some good dinner and a TV
Yes.
show, and I'm good to go.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I like that you come in and you will help with the edit and do the organization, but then you implement the systems to kind of keep everything organized. So, what does that look like? Like, what are the systems? Is it like color coding? Is it like containers? Like, what kind of systems are we doing?
It definitely depends on the client, and I've found that, like and that's why I really like working one-on-one because I like to work directly with the client and really understand how they live. I don't wanna be there just to rearrange a bunch of things and then make it look pretty in baskets because that will last for 2 seconds. So, if I'm really working with someone, I learn how they live because in the beginning, people were like, "Well, just do it how you live," and I'm like, "But how I live and how you live and how someone else lives is very different." And so, I think that learning how someone lives. So some people will be like, I want all canisters and I will definitely keep it up and I'll refill for the pantry. And then some people will be like, absolutely not. I don't want any of that. I don't want a lot of product. Or I have these baskets. Let's use this. So every project's very different based on where I feel like the client is going to succeed with it. So I'm not going to give someone a bunch of canisters to refill their flour and sugar if they don't want to refill their flour and sugar. So it's really setting them up for success. And some people are like, I really don't care if my hangers match. And yes, it's prettier for a picture if their hangers match, but if they don't really care, I'm not going to force new hangers on them. So it's really, how what they feel like is going to be really comfortable for them.
What is like the trickiest like organization job that you've done? Like has there been one where it's like, "Oh my god, like how am I gonna do this?"
Yeah, I mean, a lot of jobs where there's a ton of stuff, there is always a moment where I'm like, am I going to be able to figure this out? Always,
Yes. Yeah.
always, always, always. And I have a momentary heart attack. And then I'm like, okay, no, I can do this. So the, the thing is like, it can always be broken down. So the process is always you take it out, you sort it, you edit, you recontain it, and then you put it away. So in the process, whenever I'm overwhelmed, I think, okay, well, it's all going to come out and then I'm going to sort it. And once I sort it, we make sense of what is there. And so in that process, it's much easier. And then it becomes like a jigsaw puzzle of which category does this go with. And so sometimes kitchens can be tricky if someone has a ton of different cooking tools, which I cook, but I'm not like a big cook. So I'm constantly like Google searching, image searching different devices. Like, what is this? So that I know which category it goes into. But yeah, every job has its intricacies and difficulties, and they're all sort of different. But I do always have a moment of overwhelm, and then it's always fine.
That's good. It's like probably like any other job, right? There are moments of overwhelm and you're like, "Oh my god."
Yes. You're like,
Yeah.
I've got to solve a problem. It's really
Yes.
like just solving a problem and then going from there. So,
Totally.
yes.
Going back to the kitchen, because
Mhm.
I really, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my God, the way that cups like multiply overnight, like in the kitchen and like ideally, should there be like a certain set, like a certain number of, let's say, cups, plates, silverware, things that we should have? Is there like a good set number? Or is it like just dependent on, your lifestyle? I mean, how do we know when too much is too much?
I think if you have the space and you have a collection of things, there are some people that have enormous spaces. So I'm like, if you have enormous spaces and you have beautiful sets of china and dishes and glassware and it's organized and you know where to go for each set, great, let's keep it all. But it depends if it's overwhelming to you. And I have to say, post fire, my husband was saying to me the other night, because we moved to Newport temporarily when we had nothing. We moved into a house and we were buying like one set of dishes and like we just were like rebuying everything. And he was like, God, you were the most calm when we lived in that tiny home with hardly anything. And I was like, I know. 'Cause we had one set of dishes and one set of glasses and and there is a sense of simplicity that really is nice. But that's not real life once you've collected a bunch of things, but I will say that less, I think, is more. But if I'm in someone's home and they have all these beautiful things and we can organize them in a way that's very calming, then keep them all. If you have a bunch of different plastic cups and things like that, like I'm try to kind of, like, pick your favorite few and then donate the rest because it just becomes so much clutter with the different tops and all the different things and the straws and the straw cleaners, like, it's too much. No one needs 30 water bottles. You're not gonna use, I mean, think about it, we're washing them right after we use them. You really need a couple per person in your house. So for like to go water bottles and then a set or two of glassware. But the reality is people over a lifetime collect much more than that. But
Yes. No, well, and then with the kids too. The kids have all of their own set of everything. It's like,
everything.
right? It's like all the dishes, the
Yes.
cups, like all that kind of stuff,
Yes.
but also their clothes and like oh my
Yes.
God, toys. Toys. Help.
Toys,
Like
baskets
the
with tops, baskets. Yes.
like
Big
how?
baskets.
Yes, how do we do the toys? Like what? Because it's like, then you have the child's like opinion and they don't want to let go of
Yes.
anything. So like
Oh,
how do we navigate that, especially with something that is so emotionally tied to them, for
yes.
them?
Yes. I think a couple things. So big baskets with tops are always going to be your friends because especially if they have in the stage where they have bigger toys and you want to contain them and you don't want to look at them like big bins, big top, you don't have to look at it. Don't do a lot of clear containers when they're smaller because you don't want to look at the mess that's in the bins. And you also want to enable them to get a rattan like bin so you're not seeing through it, but also like sometimes I've had where I've done labels for playrooms, but then I've put like a little emoji of what it is or like a little picture of what it is so that the child can put things away. They know how to sort their own toys. So like this is where the Barbies go and this is where so that's helpful. But I think when cleaning out, I mean, I would clean things out and not tell the kids and keep them somewhere else. And then if they asked for them, I would like bring back a toy from purgatory. But if they never asked about it again and it had been a couple months, I was like, well, out it goes. So, because a lot of kids don't want to get rid of it. But what I will say is that the kids that I've worked on their playrooms, sometimes it's better when you're not working with, like when I'm working with my kids on their stuff, they're like, no, I want to keep that. I want to keep that. When I work with other kids on their stuff, they are funny. They'll let go of a lot more when they're working with someone that isn't their parent. Um, but also kids really like a clean playroom. It's really when I've done my favorite videos are when I've done a playroom and then the mom does a surprise, like does a video of them seeing their new space and they're like, and so kids actually really like it to be calm and not have so many decisions to make too. I think we're all buying our kids so much stuff and they actually need a lot less stuff and then they'll play with the stuff that they do have. But I think they get overwhelmed just like we do by the clutter or by too many decisions. What do I play with? I have so many toys. And so to limit that gives them some calm and to give them some agency around this is where we put the Barbies and this is where we put the Legos and this is when you clean up, this is how you do it. And it does help them. And I do think they feel empowered by that. But I do love seeing kids' faces when they have a redone playroom because they really like the order.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. It's like probably easier for them to like digest and take it all in and be able to say, there's my stuffed toys, there's my Barbies, like, right? Whatever that
Yes,
is.
exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You know, I think too, a lot of us are in this sort of sandwich generation where we're not only taking care of kids, but we're taking care of our elderly parents as they get older.
Mhm.
And part of that, I know a lot of people's parents have downsized, including my parents last or 2 years ago now. Just, downsized, moved to a smaller house, but they had lived in their house for 40 years before. So we had to go through I can't even like it was my sister and I like went through all of these things and it was so overwhelming because I feel like as people get even older, like, our parents' age, they just don't want to throw anything away. Like nothing, nothing. So
Nothing.
we were finding things from like 1992 and like, I mean, just things, receipts and like, I mean, papers and just so many things. So, like, what advice do you give for us, especially in midlife, if we're trying to help our parents downsize and they have collected things and they don't want to throw things away? And there is that also emotional component with them. Like, what do we do?
It's tricky. Thankfully, my mom is very minimalist, so she has been cleaning out her house, so I will not ever have to deal with that because she is very similar to me.
That's
But
good.
Grant's parents, my husband's parents, are actually in the process of downsizing, and there is so much stuff. And so I think it's really hard when you're going from a really big house to a smaller house, to really cull down what matters to you and what you want to hang on to. I'm working with a new client actually who has a really large house, and I don't think she actually wants to downsize homes, but she's like, it's too much. I have just too much stuff. So I do think that what I've decided with her is we're going to do 5-hour sessions so that it doesn't become so overwhelming. And we'll just start. We've got a priority list of where she wants to start and how she wants to feel in those spaces, even though we're not moving her to a new house. But it's really those chunks of time that I think you just don't want to overwhelm the person that's giving things up, right? Because it's really hard to move on. And, we're all going through it as we go through midlife. We're in a new stage. And it's hard to give away the toys that our kids played with and move on to this new stage where they're teenagers. And then you think about our parents and all of the things that they've collected, and maybe they didn't do an edit at midlife, so they have all of all stuff from childhood too. And so I do think if you can do it with your parent to kind of go through, enjoy some of the memories, like look through some of your old stuff and have a good time with it, I think would be first and foremost, because there are so many magical memories in what they've collected. And sort of, you know, I wouldn't rush through it, is what I guess I'm trying to say, is like there's so many memories that they have, and sort of honor those memories and sit with them and have them tell you stories about whatever the item is. And then, I think finding a good home for these things, not making them feel like this is just all going to go in the garbage. It's who can we give this to? There's a bunch, Grant's mom has all these beautiful clothes that she doesn't wear anymore. And so we were and talked about, like, do you give it to some, a women's shelter or someone that is trying to find a job or wants to do different things, is to really be thoughtful around where you give the things. Cause you don't want to take someone's lifetime collection and just kick it to the curb. You want to deal with it respectfully and also make it fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, what if you're getting resistance from your parents? Like they don't want to throw it away or they don't want to find a new home for something. Then what do you do?
I mean, you can't really force someone to give something away, and you don't want someone to resent you if you're taking their stuff. I mean, I think when it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to give this stuff up, like, what are we giving up? We're either going to give up the space or we're going to give up the stuff. And so if you're moving into a smaller house than you previously own, like, it's a math problem, right? Like you can't fill the same amount. So I do think it's rationalizing with someone around, like, okay, well then where is this going to go in the new space that's much smaller? Cuz I'm having a hard time understanding how all of this stuff is going to fit in this smaller home. Um and I think that that's the only way you can kind of coach someone, unless you're just dragging their stuff out, which I don't think you want to do. Um, and maybe over time, they will loosen their resistance. So it might also be something, if your parents are going to be more resistant to it, it's like starting that process and conversation now, little by little, so that they get used to the idea of having to give up their stuff.
That's a good point. Start early. Maybe even start the process like doing something a little bit here and there, right? Like maybe throwing out a couple things a week or something like that, right?
Yeah, build it in. Let's go through my childhood stuff. Let's go through the stuff that you saved from my childhood. Maybe I can take some of that stuff for my kids, or I would love to review that. And inevitably, you'll find tons of stuff that is easily tossable, and things will start to flow from there. And then maybe they'll realize, I think there's also such a, like, oh, I can't get rid of that. And then when they start looking through all the clutter, they're going to be like, why did I save this news clipping from wherever, let it go. So I think if you warm them up with it, and it shouldn't feel like a punishment.
What do you think that is with like older people? Like, why is there that desire to hold on to things? Is it the nostalgia of it?
I think it's generational. I think it depends on how much someone had growing up. If they're like holding you see people that didn't have very much that then hold on for dear life to whatever they do have. I'm sure it's hard. I mean, we know as we're getting older ourselves into midlife, like you're starting to say goodbye to parts of yourself. And I think, when you're in your 70s and 80s and onward, it's like you're really saying goodbye to a life that you led. And so I think that that's really hard to start letting go of those things and coming to terms with the fact that you're in a totally different life stage now, and it doesn't require all the things that you used to use. So I think it's both, but I do think that, sometimes there's a tendency to like hoard or be cheaper with money, or I think it's just maybe an age thing, but it does feel like people get a little bit clingy to their stuff.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point too about saying goodbye to chapters of your life. There's probably like a sadness there, you know? It's like you're letting go of like childhood and then, young adulthood and on, right?
Mhm, and so many things have memories and all of the, like, times with your kids and your grandkids and all of that. So I think it's all very emotional, especially around keepsakes and things that you don't really need to hang on to anymore, but it's hard to say goodbye. So I do think making it feel like it's not like, "Shame on you for keeping all this stuff." It's like, "Let's go through it. You're moving to a new space. I'd love to help you. I love to start with my stuff that I like all the boxes of my childhood memorabilia. Let's go through it together. Let's make this fun." And then I think that starts to loosen their resistance.
So what is the filter about like things to keep, things to donate, maybe things to toss? Like what is that process? Is it like are you keeping things that make you happy or are there questions that we should be asking as we're organizing? Like what does that look like?
It really depends on what the stuff is. I mean, there's some things. I was just with someone that had like tax returns for the last like 40 years. And she was
40
like,
years?
she was like, "I know I don't need these, but it
Wow.
makes me feel good." And I was like, "Okay, well, if it makes you feel more comfortable, let's keep them because 'cause you've got the space. We'll just organize them here." So I do feel like if you've got the space and it really makes you feel good to have a copy of your tax returns, great. But I think that as you start to move along, it's just being more honest with yourself around what you're actually gonna use and what you're not. I mean, there's important documents, of course, to keep. There's photo albums and keepsakes and all of those things, but I think what you're using, what you're not using, and then, but it really depends on what it is. But there's some things that is like this little doll that I loved, but it's ugly now, and I'm like, keep it then. Like, don't it shouldn't be a punitive exercise. It's really about trying to make you feel more calm and centered in your space and not overwhelmed or having any shame around the piles. So it's really just trying to free up decisions for yourself, and if you look at it through that lens, it I think feels better. But there's no real set beyond keeping the obvious. There's no real set like rules around what you keep and what you don't.
Okay. And what about for people who are really organized, right? Maybe they
Mhm.
have, things down pat, like in their space, in their houses, in their offices. What kind of mistakes are you seeing them make? Are there organizational mistakes that even with the most organized of people that you
Over
see as, could be wrong?
I see that people don't keep like with like enough, so they'll keep, like, some things of that collection here and some over here and some over here, and so really keeping things in one spot, so one category in one spot so that you're not going different directions. So I feel like a lot of times I see a layout, um problem where it's like they're going here for one thing and here for another, but they're all sort of related. So I'm like, why don't we put all of this together in one spot so you're only going to one spot? I see kitchen layout things that I'm like, okay, why? are your dishes so far away from your dishwasher? Like your cutlery drawer should be close to your dishwasher. So when you're putting things away, you want to kind of minimize the amount of back and forth that you're doing in your house to sort of conserve energy and make a really smart user flow of your house. So that's what I feel like people are organized, but they're not really thinking about the flow and where things should be grouped. They can be really, every drawer can be really organized, but if it doesn't really make sense with how they live, then that's where I feel like I'll come in and make adjustments around flow.
Okay, so when you're saying like with like, are you
Mhm.
meaning like categories of items? Are you meaning color coding? Are you meaning, like what does like with like mean?
Like with like, so if you're gonna have some kitchen tools like in one drawer and then you're gonna have kitchen tools on the other side, like kitchen tools need one big drawer with dividers that like all of your kitchen tools live together. Like you want to make a prep area. You don't want to have things that are you've got your cheese grater on this side and you've got your knives and you've got your salad spinner and like things are different directions. You want it like if you're prepping food and you've got an island, you want it right there so that you're prepping. Like just making zones in your home is very effective. So it's less like I like color coding for my clothes, but I would say that making zones in your home. So when I go into like a new home, I say, okay, so how do you cook? Like, where do you prep? Do you use the island or do you use the other side? Which sink do you use? Like, thinking through where your zones are so that you put together a flow that makes more sense so that you're not doing back and forth. So I would think like with um kitchen stuff is the easiest part, like glasses with glasses, like, don't have different collections all over, like, all your glasses go in one area, all your plates go in one area, like, keep all your napkins together, don't have things spread out because then you forget about where things are, so if everything's in one area, you go to that area for napkins, whether you're getting an everyday napkin or your beautiful linen napkins that you use when people are coming over, so the things are just aren't so spread.
Mm, and zones really translate to any room of the house. I mean,
Yes.
right? Zones can be in your living room, like it can be in your kitchen, it can be your closet. What does like a living room, because we spend so much time in our living rooms, what does a living room like organized by zone look like?
I mean, in a living room, I think you should you're gonna have obviously your furniture and your TV and maybe a basket for blankets. I have always like our games in there. So like board games are in there. I try to keep a living room for like their books, of course, and I like to group books by color just because I think it's a little bit more calming on the eye than having all these different books everywhere. So um I try to keep things to a minimum in a living room so that you can lay on the couch and feel really calm. If you've got young kids, I think it's great to have baskets again, like a Serena and Lily with a top on it is great because then it doesn't have to be perfect when it's put in the basket, but then it's got a top. You don't look at it, looks nice in your living room. So I think paring things down, if you've got a bunch of built-ins, again, like paring the books down or doing it by color, again, so your eye can relax, I think is really good. And then whatever else you do in there. I think for me, it's board games. Sometimes I've in the past kept extra decor items. So like, anything from frames to candles to whatever, depending on whatever the drawer or cabinet space I have. But I think the less the better type in there, just because you wanna relax.
Yes. You don't want to be like overloaded the second you sit
Uh-uh.
down.
No, you wanna be relaxed in there, so try to get things out of there, but if you do have to have storage in there, try to have it contained so you're not looking at it.
Are you a fan of these furniture pieces that have like storage built in, like these like benches, for example, that go up and you can like
Mhm.
put things in there, or, things underneath, like a table, or, are you a fan of those types of like pieces?
I'm not, only because I think people forget, and then stuff lives in there for eternity and no one remembers to look in the bench. The only time I think it's great to have something like that, I mean, great if you don't have a lot of space and you actually do use it, then awesome. But what I've seen is that people put stuff in it and then forget and are like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had, XYZ in this bench. I do think if there's stuff that you are going to use all the time and you're not going to forget that you have it in the bench or whatever the piece of furniture may be, the ottoman, then great. But if it's something that you're going to store there, you'll never see it again because you've put it in there and then you forget and it's in an ottoman and you put a book and a tray on top. And then, oh my gosh, 10 years later, you're like, oh, I had no idea I had whatever it is in here.
Totally.
So I think people forget. So it's like, and when people don't have a lot of space, I'm like, okay, so we're going to have to move a category out of here. Like in a kitchen, if you don't have enough space, move something out in a category. So maybe it's something you use once a year. It's your turkey roaster that's really big, but you're not going to forget at Thanksgiving that you need your turkey roaster. So move that. But if it's like a one-off piece that you don't really think about very often, or you have no reason to remember, if you put that elsewhere, you're never going to remember it. So really only moving things out from the main area, like from your closet. If you don't have room for your ski stuff, put it somewhere else. And your ski stuff, you're not going to forget the next time you ski. You'll remember that it's there. But if you put a bunch of dresses that you can't fit, you won't go look for it. So you have to give yourself a reason to go out and look for the satellite, if you will, of whatever that item is.
And what about, because so many of us work from home now, so we have home
Mhm.
offices, right? And I
Mhm.
noticed that, like, and my husband and I actually, we both work from home. We both have our own businesses. So I noticed that, like, we'll start maybe working in one room and then we'll kind of migrate to another room and take some papers and, the computers. And it's like, it just like things get messy. So, like, how do we control like the things from getting out of control when we're working from home?
I think we do the same. My husband works from home as well. We both have our own businesses, so we do the same, right? We like migrate to different spaces. Sometimes you just need a change of scenery. Totally makes sense. I think at the end of the day, at the work day, you have to almost feel like you're in an actual office and you need to tidy up your desk. If you've moved papers to the kitchen table, if you've moved them somewhere else, like pick that stuff up, get yourself reset in your office like you would if you were at a bigger company. Like I used to reset my desk every day at Pandora before I left for like kind of get myself organized for the next day. And I think that that is something that is very helpful in the home in general is sort of reset your space, your office before you leave it at night, even if you're in the home. And your home at night, do a 15-minute sweep of clutter, putting dishes in the dishwasher, poofing a pillow, like 15 minutes of just, I'm going to set a timer, do 15 minutes. I'm going to put a podcast in, and 15 minutes later, so much is cleaned up and I feel better going to bed. I wake up to a house that has been reset and I'm ready to start the day. So I do think that reset is really necessary, and I think that the blur between home and work when you're working from home is really hard because you can leave at a moment's notice and go to your kitchen and do whatever you want. So at the end of your workday to really say, "I'm gonna consciously sort of tidy this area up so that I'm ready for tomorrow," helps sort of corral that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You wake up and you have a fresh space, it looks like, right? And it puts you in a good headspace for the
Does.
workday,
It
right?
does. It
Yeah.
does. Yes.
So, how often should we be doing a home edit? Like, how often should we be, let's say, like cleaning out our closets or, cleaning out the kitchen? Like, should it be like a yearly thing or is it like more often? Like, how often should we just be taking an audit and like really thinning things out?
I You're not gonna love this answer, but I feel like you should be doing it every day. I
Totally.
think that
I knew you were going to say that.
every day, every day. I think that if you are using something in your kitchen and you're like, God, I've always hated this bowl, put it in the bin, put it in the basket, get rid of it. Like, don't wait. Don't say, I'm going to get to this edit down the road because once you do, it's going to be so overwhelming. You're going to hate yourself. So if you are in the kitchen and you are like, I have always hated this mug, I am going to go put it in the basket. Put it in the basket. I have a basket downstairs. I have a basket upstairs. Put it in there. I get rid of, even post fire of losing every single thing I own, I get rid of one bag of stuff a week.
Do you really? What
Yes.
what is in that bag? Is
Yes.
it clothes?
I
Is
mean,
it what?
literally anything, like something could cut, it's clothes, it's, I mean, something someone gave me that I'm not going to use, it's a book, it's like, it can really, it just depends. So I think that if you're doing it in real time, you start to relieve the clutter. But you can do bigger edits, of course. And what I do with my kids, because they watch me scan their room and they're like, "Oh God,
They're like, what's she gonna take?
what's she gonna take?" I'm like, "Don't stand still." So I go through and I'm like, "Okay." And I will say to my son, who's like, "Oh God," I'm like, "Okay, give me 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and we're gonna play yes, no." And he's like, okay. So yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And we just go through and then I just take the stuff. I don't fold it up. I don't do anything. I try to get out of his space as fast as possible. I take all of it still on the hanger that he told me I can get rid of. And I just take it out to the hall and then I put it and then I sort it. But like that doesn't fatigue him. He can just sit on his bed while I do yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then I take it out. So I think when people overthink like that, I'm gonna do this annual edit and I'm gonna do it just becomes a dreaded thing. Whereas if you're in your child's room and you find like, leggings from when they were 3 years old, which I find when I'm going through clients' stuff a lot, I'm like, this child is 12 and these leggings are from when they were 4. You don't need to ask your daughter or your son, just take them off. They don't even care.
Actually a great point because you're right. Their clothes, like their kids, their baby clothes, like baby shoes, baby clothes. It just, oh my God, yeah. You just have to literally go through and just weed it out. And I like what you're saying about getting the kids involved because I do think that that's also important, right? To kind of when it's something like that, like you're saying, like the baby clothes, and you can do that on your own, but just to instill in them like a sense of organization and to take pride in their things. Like, what are some good tips for that to get them excited about being organized? Like, how do we get them involved?
Depends on the kid. I know some kids that are very into it. My daughter kind of goes and fits and starts. She gets more motivated around her birthday and Christmas when I'm like, "Well, we need to clean out to make room for new things." Then she'll get motivated. So that is a helper of like the one in, one out, or we're coming up on a big holiday. Let's get this cleared out. Um, I do think making it manageable and not making it so taxing on them because most of the time they're not gonna wanna do it. So I think if you can say, like, "I'm gonna make this really easy on you. You can sit in your bed, we're gonna go through this, and then look at how nice this is." And it's crazy, they do actually really like it. Even my son who dreads it when I do the scan of the room, I always, like, go in his room and tidy up, and and when I don't, now he's like, were you at a client's today?" Like, if I haven't been in his room, because he really likes that I, like, go in and, like, make it nice for him because they wanna be in a nice space. So he's you know, it's hard because they don't most of the kids don't wanna be involved. Some do. Some really do, and if you have that kid, God bless you. I don't have either of those kids. They like their spaces nice, but they aren't like, "Let's clean out." Like I was as a child, I was cleaning out all the time, self-motivated. I couldn't be sent to my room because I would rearrange and edit. So, like, I love to get rid of things. Yes.
It like gives you
So
a sense of peace, probably, right?
it gives me a high. I'm like,
Oh.
"Oh, it's like clear, less overwhelm. Whew." It's a real drug for me. So I'm like, what else can you get rid of? Most people don't feel that way. So you kind of have to coax kids into that if they don't feel that way.
And what if our
So
partners are different in their organizational skills, right? Like, what if it's like a husband and wife and like one's super organized and the other one's messy? Like, I'll give you an example. In our house, my husband is really good about thinning out his closet all the time. Like, he'll take 2 or 3 shirts out take him to Goodwill or, put him in like a thing for like the real or whatever it is, he will do that. But I'm the opposite. I like to procrastinate and wait till that one big edit where I get so overwhelmed.
Mhm.
It's like, so
Shut
what do exactly? And I'm like, oh my God, I can't.
down.
So what do we do when it's like our partners and we're like two totally different like organizational types?
I mean, I think most people in a marriage are 2 different organizational types. My husband and I are completely different, and I like it obviously very organized. So because it's me who wants it to be like that, I really am the one that takes that on to keep things really organized because it matters to me. It doesn't matter to him. I try to separate our spaces as much as I can so that like we each have a closet that's our own, so we're not in each other's spaces that way. We don't share an office, so we don't cross that way. Um, I just went into his office and was like, "How are you living like this?" I will take care of it this weekend. Um, I did a scan. I was like, "Oh boy." So it happens, but it's like some of it, he's like, "I need to be able to be me too, and, like, not feel like everything has to be perfect." So, I have to also honor that he doesn't want it to be psychotic like I want it to be. So I own the main spaces of keeping them tidy, and I take that on myself because I know I want it cleaner than the average person. Um, but he's adapted to me and like has figured out ways in which he can come more to the middle. And then I've tried to become more accepting of clutter in his personal areas. So because it's really hard, and most of the time 2 people in a marriage or a partnership are not the same. They're usually totally different. And so when we are rebuilding our home, our contractor kept being like, "No, we need one big closet." And I'm like, we have to have our own closet, like and even when we had in the old house, like, he moved his closet into his office because I was like, "We need our own spaces, and you can be you, and I can be me." So, I think it's not about trying to change the other one, but if you have the space or a way to separate things a little bit, that helps.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're like, let them be, but let them be in their own space.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
just don't be like that in my closet because I will leave you.
Totally.
Yes.
So, what for the women and men who are listening out there today or watching us, what are three organizational tips that you can give them that they could implement like today? Like they can do these three things and it will give them like maybe a sense of peace, sense of organization. Like, what can they do today?
There's a couple things. So the donation bin, start that today. That's very easy to put a basket out and start doing that. That's my number one thing. The reset, like I said, is another one. The third one, the reset of like the 15-minute reset before you go to bed. And I also do a 15-minute reset when I wake up. So when I wake up, I turn some lights on, like I turn a few lamps on, I might light a candle. I kind of like get the space set for the day. And it gives me a sense of calm to not just like hit the ground running, to have like a moment in the house. Maybe I'm like fluffing a pillow that someone had been laying on the couch the night before. So, like, it's a clean slate in the morning. So, I think that 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night is a great thing if you have it. It's sometimes hard to fit that in, I understand. So maybe it's just once a day that you're doing a quick 15 minutes. I would say also, like, entertain yourself while you're doing it. Put in a podcast. Like, I never do this, like, without entertainment. Like, I'm always listening to something, and then it makes it a really pleasant process. But when I was thinking about this podcast, I was thinking, like, what do I do that I feel like really helps me stay on track? And I think that our mental loads are so heavy, especially women our age, right? They're so heavy. We're thinking about all these different things that we have to do. We've got school stuff, job stuff, stuff with our partners, house stuff. And so I've been thinking about how to manage that mental load for years because it's really something that bothers me when I feel like I'm overwhelmed with how many things I have to remember. So I've done, which I can show you, I've done this to-do list, which I break, and I don't even know if you can see it, but I break it by categories. So it has my personal to-do stuff for the house, my admin stuff for my business and social media. Then I have clients and what each stage of whatever my clients are at. So some things on the list are pending. So this is a master list that lives on Google Docs. It's a rolling list. So it's always constantly being updated. But what I dump in there is by category is everything I need to do. This list does not get done every day. Some of this stuff on the list will be there for a month, but I don't have to think about it. I don't have to remember it. So it's here, and I will write pending, awaiting answer, whatever it is under the client, like sent dates, awaiting response, so that I then don't have to think about that anymore. Because I think we're constantly like, did I hear back from that person? Did that person, did we send a date for that? Did we do? And so because I've got it on Google Docs, I do it on my computer, I've got it on my phone, I print it once a week, I write on it, and then I update it. Um, and then from there, and this is where it's sort of psychotic in thought, but it's really
We
good
love Psycho.
because it's psycho, but it works. Um, I used to have a coworker who would say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Mm.
And I think that is so true with our days. We wake up and we react to whatever fires are going on, and we don't really get things done because we're just constantly like fighting fires and then, moving on to the next activity. And so I put together every day on a little piece of paper, an index piece of paper.
Okay.
Thursday, alarm's going off at 6. I'm going to take care of tidying, working out, and showering for my first meeting. I leave for my first meeting at 8:45. My meeting's at 9. I've got this podcast at 11. And then after this podcast, I know that I've got my list of people that I have to email today. And I get that done. And then I go to the next thing, like, okay, no, now I need to leave for this. Now I need to do this. It's my roadmap for the day. And I keep it in my purse, I keep it on my desk. And then I update my master list that is always constantly going with this, but I don't have to think like between doing this podcast and going to a client's in a couple hours. What should I get done? You know what? I'll just like tidy up the house. No, I know I've got 5 emails that I have to send after this. And it just gives me a sense of calm and it shows me every day where I'm going. It's my roadmap. I know where I have to be. I look at it. I know I've got stuff in my phone, but that doesn't tell you between the transitions of this meeting and this appointment, like the things that you need to get done in that day. So I think if you can make yourself a tiny little roadmap for the day, it is so helpful. You get so much more done than having a big long list.
Yes. And you would do that like in the morning, like of the day.
That
Kind of
Yeah.
just write it all down and be like, I need to get this done. What about if we don't get all that we need to get done? Like, and then there's like things that are left on the list, and then you feel bad about yourself because you didn't get it done.
Well, that's why this master list lives on its own, because that is like the master list of every single thing that has to get done. And that way you're not feeling bad. Like it's a rolling list. If it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. If it gets on here, try to make your roadmap not have a zillion things to do. I know I can get done these 5 emails today. I know I have a break between this time and this time, and I am going to just write these emails. I'm not going to get sidetracked with my phone and social media and other emails. I'm going to write these 3 emails, 5 emails, and then I'm going to go to my next thing. And it just I think it just lightens the mental load of what you have to remember and lightens the amount of decisions you have to make. And if you don't get something done, like yesterday, I didn't get something done on my trusty 5x7 roadmap. And I just didn't check it off the master list and it got added for today. And that's okay. Sometimes I circle it so I know to look like, okay, that didn't get done. That can get done tomorrow. But it prioritizes based on all of our lists are too long, right? And we get overwhelmed by them. So if you break it down into these tiny little bite-sized things that you can actually accomplish, you'll feel so much better. You'll look at the end of the day and be like, wow, I did get done what I needed to get done because I put the priorities for that day on this card so that whatever else happens, I know I need to get these 5 things done. And it does give you a sense of peace. And it does stop you from, am I where I'm supposed to be? Should I be doing something right now? I'm constantly, if I don't have this, I'm like, did I forget something? That's what weighs you down mentally is your brain. It's like too many tabs are open and we're like, it gets heavy. It's like a web browser. We're trying to keep too many things going at once and then it becomes really heavy. And so if you can lighten it by writing all the things down, you're not going to lose your Google document. You can lose your notebook, you can lose your little this piece of paper, but like your Google Doc that has everything in it, you're not going to lose it. So that way, that lives on. And then you can make little satellites from there of what your day looks like. And it just makes your day so much easier.
So much easier. And like, I think the bottom line of all of it is like, don't feel bad about yourself, right? Like, don't internalize if something doesn't happen or like you feel like maybe you've got a messy space or what, like, don't feel bad. There's ways, there's always a way.
There's always a way, and it can get done the next day. Most things in life are not mission critical. Like things can usually get done a different day. Um, but sometimes I feel like if I don't get enough during the day, I feel like this mountain is growing bigger and bigger. And so I found that writing the priorities of just the things I need to get done that day breaks it into pieces that makes me feel really calm. And I think but yeah, I think people are really hard on themselves. And we're all running around. We're all overburdened. We're all have a million things to do. And so it's managing it in a way that is more calm for you and one that takes just some decisions off your plate.
Yes, 100%. Now,
Mhm.
turning the tables a little bit on you, my friend, I want to know what advice would you give 25-year-old Megan? What does 25-year-old Megan look like, first of all? Like, what is going on with 25-year-old Megan?
25-year-old Megan was in corporate America, stressed over nothing. Yes, I would tell 25-year-old Megan to cool it. Like, it's gonna be okay. I worried about every single thing all the time. And I think the gift of, nearly 25 years later, like, there is something so amazing about being middle age because you're like, "It's okay. I'm, like, so much easier on myself, and worry about so much less." But 25-year-old Megan was, like, really high strung. I think I'm high strung now. I was really high strung. This is relaxed, Megan.
Totally. We love it. See, it comes with
It
age.
does. It's just mellowed. Like, I'm, like, much more forgiving, and I understand. Yeah, and I just used to think, like, everything was mission critical, and now I realize, like, every meeting wasn't the most important meeting, and things aren't gonna explode. Not everything is time sensitive. So all of those things, I think, with time and age, you sort of relax a bit. So, I would tell 25-year-old to relax.
Totally. You're right. As you get older, priorities and boundaries like become so much more important, right? We learn about the gift of time, right? This is the time. This is the time for it.
This is the time. This is the time.
So, what is the most important lesson you've learned in midlife?
I think that what I learned, especially being in midlife and losing my home in the fire, is that none of our stuff matters. None of it matters. It really doesn't. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, are you so sad you lost XYZ? And I really am not. And I can say that sincerely that our stuff doesn't matter. It's the people around us, it's our families being safe, it's our friendships. All of that is what matters. The purse and the shoes and the whatever and all the things that we sort of buy because we're comparing ourselves to other people and we're wanting to like have more and more and more, it actually means nothing at the end of the day. So I think that that's what I've learned is important is just family and people and the connections to friends and family is the most important part.
Yeah, that was such an eye opener, the fire. I mean, like, really talk about reprioritizing, right? I mean, it just it makes you take inventory of everything in your life.
Everything, everything, everything.
And then, how are you living iconically right now?
Oh, can you give me more definition
Yeah.
of that?
To me, okay, so for example, for me, when I think of like how living iconically looks like, being as close to like the true you as possible. So that to me is what iconic. I know to other people it
Yeah,
might be
it's
different,
like
but
I think my business has been that because I've really leaned into what makes me me, which is I've always been this very organized person who's thinking about systems and making things efficient and creating calm, and I think part of me used to be, almost embarrassed by how organized I was because it was, like, nerdy or whatever, and now I'm just like, "This is who I am. I love being organized. I love having this worked out this way. It makes me feel really good," and I really, like, honor that about myself, that this is how I wanna live. This is how I wanna feel in my life, and sort of slowing down to get clear on how I wanna live and feel is, like, the biggest part right now, and I've been really actually the last couple of months thinking about that, like, what do I really want my days to look like? Because they can just tick by so fast. Like, what really brings me happiness and brings me calm? So, I think right now and just, doing what I love.
mhm. Yeah, no, I think that's great, and you took a chance, right? You left,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
kind of the corporate world, and you started this, and it's been so wonderful and amazing, and you've really taken off with it, which is such an accomplishment. What would you say to, let's say, a midlife woman at home that might be listening that's like, "Gosh, I have an idea for something, but, like, I'm either afraid or I don't wanna take a chance or I'm, like, held back by something." What would you say to her to kind of, get unstuck?
I would say just do it, like, jump. There are so many times in my life that I have been really uncomfortable, like, a lot, and I'm just like, Just jump." And that's sometimes all you need. Like, just do the thing, right? Like, if you really wanna create something and sell it on Etsy, just make one and start a store and sell just one. Like, it was really just and there were moments in the beginning of starting this, I was like, "What if I get no clients?" Like, what if especially being self-employed, you're job to job, and in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, like, what if no one reaches out?" Like, I never bug people, I ask them to, hire me, so, like, it's all word of mouth, and so but I do think if you just put one foot in front of the other and creating the energy of, like, creating what you want to build, that energy, I think, is really goes out into the universe and starts it for you. So I think it's just doing it, even if it doesn't look perfect. And you'll learn as you go. Me 2.5 years ago, and I'm sure me in 2.5 years from now is gonna look back and think, "Oh my gosh, my business is so different." So, like, you don't need to have it all worked out day 1. You just start, and I look back on certain things that I was doing day 1, and I'm like, "Well, that was stupid." But that's fine because now I'm where, it's continually as long as you continue to iterate and build and one foot in front of the other, like, am I moving the ball forward? And I do ask myself, like, I don't wanna be moving the pieces around, the papers around my desk. I wanna be moving forward, and what am I building? What do I want it to look like? And I think writing down, like, in my dreams, what would my business look like?
Yes, because when you put pen to paper, you're on the way. Like, you are going to, get the momentum, and it is like those baby steps, right? It's like baby step and they add up. Like, momentum does so much, right? Mentally for you.
Yes, it does. And that sometimes I think we don't even know what we want, because sometimes you can say to someone like, "Well, what do you want?" And they're like, "I don't know." And so I think that makes sense because I sometimes I don't know, and sometimes I've had to sit with my notebook and say, "What do I want? What if I could wave a magic wand, what would my life look like? What would my business look like? Write all of that down and then start working towards that. And I think it does. If you have if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Like, know where you're going and then get on that road, I think is the biggest thing.
Get on that road. That is so true. Well, Meaghan, you are amazing. What great tips you've given. I'm now going to go in my closet and start like tackling away. I'm going to be like, okay, this goes in that basket. This goes in that basket. You
I'm like,
know?
donation, real
Yes.
tailor. Mhm. Just make it fun.
Totally.
Turn on some music, put on a
Yes.
movie.
Oh, that is
Sometimes
the
I put
best.
I put my computer in my closet with a movie on.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, okay.
Yes. Make it nice.
Yes, make it nice, right? If you wanna have a
Yes. It
glass of
doesn't have to
wine
be
and
miserable.
yes,
Yes. Invite your
yes.
friend. You know what the best is? Invite your best
Oh,
friend over and try things on. It's the most fun you'll ever have.
it is
It's
like that scene from Sex and the City, right?
Yes, it's the most fun you'll ever have.
Yes,
Have
yes.
each have a glass of wine, you try things on, it's the most fun.
Oh, that is so fun. I know, that's a
Yeah.
great tip. That's a great tip.
Mhm. The best friend at it.
Yes, the best for that it. Hashtag.
Yep, yep.
Um, so if somebody wants to book an appointment with you, how do they do that and where can they find you?
So you can find me at meaghankessman.com is my website, and it has an inquiry form. You fill that out and it emails me. My email is also just meaghan@meaghankessman.com. And then my Instagram is at Meaghan Kessman Home. And my name's spelled very oddly, Meaghan. So just make sure you're spelling it right.
I like the uniqueness.
Yes.
You're one of a kind, my friend.
Oh, thank you. So are you, Roxy. You're the
Oh,
best.
thank you. Thank you. Well, I've had so much fun with you and everybody
Me
listening and
too.
watching. Don't forget to come back on Thursday because Meaghan and I are going to have a very fun game episode. Quick fire. She's going to be answering some fun questions. So you don't want to miss it. And if this episode resonated, be sure to rate, comment, and follow wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube so more fun people can find this episode and find the show. And I thank you so much, everyone, for listening and watching. Love you guys. And thank you, Meaghan.
Thank you again. It was an honor.
This conversation is such a reminder that organization isn't about perfection. It's about making life easier on yourself. Midlife is busy, it's full, and your home shouldn't feel like another thing you're failing at. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please follow the iconic Midlife, rate the show, and leave a review. And if you know someone who could use a little more calm and a little less chaos, share this episode with her. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the episode, and tell me in the comments what resonated most. I'd love to hear from you because this chapter isn't about doing more. It's about supporting yourself better. And that's iconic.